man. How are you?
I'm excellent. There we are, rocking. We're rolling. How's the weather down there? Sun still out?
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Yeah, it's supposed to rain, but it's kind of like overcast, but it's not too hot, so it's nice.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, it rained here all day, like
Nice,
all day long.
nice.
Hey, sometimes you need it. It's all good, no problem.
Yeah,
So, I saw on your Instagram or your Facebook today you were on your boat. Tell me about this boat. This
yeah,
boat
yeah,
looks amazing.
yeah, man. Yeah, we ended up. I used to have boats a few, all growing up. My whole family's full of boaters and fishermen, and I always had boats. And then in my 20s, or actually my early 30s, I basically drank them all away and just kind of just train wrecked, and I lost everything.
Mm,
So then I built the gym, and I started saving a little bit every month, a little bit here and there. And then finally, I found the boat that I wanted. Sarah's like, just go get it.
yeah, yeah. What type of boat is it?
Yeah, so it's a 33-foot Chris Craft.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, it's got twin 350s, man. It's big. It's like 12 feet wide, 33 feet long, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm happy about it.
Awesome. Well, Jesse Topp, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate. I know it took a little while for us to get all connected and all that jazz, but I do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, for sure, man.
How things been for you, man? How are you guys doing over there?
Things are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are good. Like COVID's hit us hard, just like everybody else in the industry. But just having the ability and like a team around us, and then having the ability of like being able to pivot through it all and not just take it in the face, just like jiu-jitsu, man. Like if you just lay when someone's ripping through your guard, if you just lay there and they get a crossface on you and your hips controlled, there's no escape. Like, you're fighting for your life. So I just made sure that we were like ahead of the trends. Fortunately, I have like a lot of friends in jiu-jitsu and CrossFit. So we had data and stuff coming before it was even really ramped up in Canada.
Okay.
So I knew it was going to affect us, and then I just kind of made a plan and tried to stick to the plan and change it,
Change it
as
as
we
you
needed
went.
to. But
No,
yeah, we're
that's
okay, man. We're
That's
good.
awesome. So I wanted to kind of talk to you, especially like, because when I was starting this whole idea of a podcast and all that, and I was like, okay, I got to get Jesse Topp on here. He's got an amazing
man.
story. He's got a great spot where he's working out of, and I've just seen you guys like explode. And I wanted to talk to
Thanks,
you about what your jiu-jitsu story, like what's your mindset, like where are you going, and like, what made you successful, really?
Yeah, cool, man. I appreciate the invite too, Aaron. We met at the Hobson Boy camp, and like that was a wicked camp. I think I was a white belt still, or maybe a blue belt.
Maybe, I don't remember.
I think I just maybe got my blue belt, and I reached out to Professor Toma, and I had never met him, and he welcomed me in, and all your team did, and it was just like good hard training. I loved it.
No, they're great camps.
Yeah, it was good, man. So thanks for having me on. The gym started just basically on passion, man. Sarah and we were traveling out of town to train, and it was good training there, but it was a bit of a drive, and we were kind of going a bit of a different way with our training. And so we just rented a small spot, her and I, and we were doing some personal training, and then we had like literally 10 tatami to roll on, and they were like old beat up ones. I was pretty well broke. Like I didn't have much to, I was like kind of wheeling and dealing, trying to get some mats. We rolled on like those colored mats from Walmart, the ones that you see now.
Those puzzles, everybody's got those right now.
Yeah. So Sarah and we just started rolling, and then before long, one person came in, and the next person came in, and then some kids wanted to train. So then we moved to a different spot, same building, expanded a bit. And honestly, man, it was just the passion of jiu-jitsu that totally, like, the town where we are, they had karate, which I love. It's a beautiful art. But, if somebody wants a hands-on art and karate's not giving them to them, we were lucky because the town kind of was waiting for something like this.
So your first group in there, and you just offered an amazing program.
Yeah, and it just went out from there.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So
and we were fortunate too. We were fortunate too. There was a strong judo background in our local area from our sensei now, or my judo sensei, and one of my best friends. He had been a judo coach. Him and his brother are pretty high-level judo guys. And they had already established a base, but then they went their separate ways, and one moved to the city and the other one went to move on with life. So there was already a bit of familiarity with judo and jiu-jitsu, how they just kind of flow in nicely together.
So how did you even start to get into jiu-jitsu? Like, was it more you were in your personal training thing? in training before, or was jiu-jitsu kind of thing you started with and transitioned from there?
Jiu-jitsu, when I was a kid, I always joke around. My parents made me play hockey, or didn't make me, but I was like a Canadian kid. Everybody plays hockey.
Hmm.
And there wasn't jiu-jitsu back then, as you know,
Yeah.
man. Like, I think you were training long before that, but I was training, I played hockey, and then when I was about 15, 16, was starting to make my own money and get my own vehicle and stuff, I started training in traditional jiu-jitsu, which included, now I know it, but I didn't know at that time, it included jiu-jitsu, judo, self-defense, boxing, kickboxing, a bit of sambo, but I didn't see it in the same eyes then. I was a 15-year-old kid
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
big ego. I was kind of not treating it the way I should have, and I trained for like 3 or 4 years, and then got out of it. Just college and doing all the wrong things at all the wrong times. And then in my 20s and 30s, when I got up to like early 30s, something actually happened. I got into a situation. I wasn't living a good life. I wasn't living a good, pure, like good person life. And I got into a situation that I couldn't get out of. And it ended up being a physical altercation, and I ended up coming out on the bad end of that. But it struck me as what happened from that, I think, was honestly a gift, man, because what happened from that is when I fell to my back, and I hadn't trained in probably 15, 20 years, when I fell to my back, the guy, he came on top, like to come over
Okay.
top, and my legs wrapped around him. And I had been out of it for so long, and my legs were able to push him off of me, and I was, defending with my hands now. And I had been out of jiu-jitsu for so long that when it was all said and done, I went and sat down, and I just remember thinking to myself, man, I think that's called guard. And this is no word of a lie.
Okay.
To us now, it seems so
Yeah. Yeah.
foreign.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's called guard, but I was in a different mind, cloudy spot and whatever. And yeah, man. And from that day forward, I just started looking into it more and more. And then as I got a little more sobriety and a little bit more my life back together, I started to, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to get back into it.
Okay.
So I went and seen my first coach, my actual Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, which was in Owen Sound. And I said, listen, I want to train. And he said to me, you need to have 6 months sober and clean, and then you can come into the gym.
Okay.
I said, okay. So the day on 6 months, I showed
Oh,
up.
wow.
I think I had like $100 to my name, not even. Like that day, that morning, I got up and I went. I said, here's my money. I want to train.
Okay.
And then I've gone through a few coaches since, they were all good coaches and they all offered amazing stuff. And then I am where I am now, and I'm quite content and loving it. It's cool how the journey takes you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it like with jiu-jitsu, it's like as a community base, or like I've said before, like as long as you're with a good group of people who want to see you succeed, regardless where you go, really doesn't matter, as long as you're preaching the same message, the same kind of philosophy of being amazing people and just bringing community together more than anything.
Yeah, for sure, man. And hard training, like
Good
hard training.
Absolutely.
Which I know you do because we've rolled, and I remember it. But you know what I mean, like the type of training where it's like, when you're in the room with these certain people that you're not going to get hurt, and B, you're going to leave and you're going to be humbled, and you're just going to get like that good grindy go training, rather than in my I like to flow and stuff, but I like that hard, intense training.
So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if you think, especially like that aspect of like a really hard base training, like remember, like whether you go into like the sweat dungeons and all that kind of stuff, where you get these heated places and they're just going, to obviously now in a situation of sport where we're very hands-on and sweating in each other's faces and all that, and now we're going to this whole social distancing atmosphere. What have you kind of thought? What's your headspace and like when you think about things like that, and like where you going to go, or how can you start training again to where you want to go?
Yeah, that's good, man. I've put tons of thought into it. I'll just be completely transparent because I think that's what this is about. I'm not going to tell you the answer that people are going to want to hear. I'll just tell you what I think.
I don't think anybody has a real answer either. So
the first 2 months. So we've been into this almost 3 months now. We've all been navigating through it. The first 2 months, that was instantly in my mind. Fear was my first thing. It's like, how is this going to continue? From a business aspect, there's workarounds, but it's not going to give you the same, like we just talked about, like that sweaty, get rid of like the anger, bettering yourself, like iron and sharpening iron. How are you going to do that again? And then now I've come to more accept it. And I think, I don't know, I'm obviously don't have a medical background, acceptance, being prepared, having policies in place, making sure people are aware, which if anybody's not aware of COVID right now, I don't know where
Yeah,
they've been,
exactly.
right? Making sure people are aware, and then having trust in your team. Like you and I are pretty good buddies. If I show up at your place and you think that something might be off with, or I think something might be off, or I've traveled, or, you know, maybe I've been exposed, I don't just come and
Show up.
roll like,
Yeah.
oh, I just don't worry about it. Yeah, and having trust in those people. As far as I know, and I don't know if this is right or wrong to say, but I'll never stop training like that.
No,
I might not be able to offer it to all my students, but I just, that's not in me to.
I think what you mentioned was the biggest thing was trust, especially around
Trust.
teammates and people who you're going to roll with and all that. I mean, like, I think in the early transitions, as we've been doing, it's like your team is your team, and you guys are just going to have to no visitors. Like, allow that.
Yep.
Your spots to be your spots, train together, and you just grow together as that, right? Whether it's two
Yep.
people, four people, I don't know. Like, I'm throwing ideas out here right now. And then I think eventually further on, we'll be able to expand back into like, okay, having full camps and have people in and out the doors and all that. Like, do you kind of feel those same sentiments, or?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, trust, man. And like to remove that element of jiu-jitsu is that's tough to do on a long term, on a business scale, and on like people come for jiu-jitsu because that's what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
So trust.
Yeah,
trust.
I would agree. So when you kind of look at like the training that you've been doing, are you kind of looking at it more for like the rolling atmosphere, or is it more the self-defense, especially because that was an issue that you had before, or is it more like competition based? Like, how would you kind of define the way that Jesse Topp rolls, or how he is as a competitor?
Oh man, wicked question. So I was sport jiu-jitsu. I love it, and I stand behind it and beside it. I think it's amazing for the sport. But since I've started training under Professor Greg, Professor Jesse, Professor Chris Hughes, Professor Richard Hughes, and Master Silvio, very self-defense orientated. Yeah. I personally have really gone that way because I enjoy that, because that's what I was shown when I was younger, and I wanted to continue down that. As you know, I love to compete too, but I found it hard to compete and coach and run a business and keep myself in shape and not get hurt, which we've talked about this before. I remember at tournaments, right? And to be able to give it all to the students where I'm giving them the coaching they need, because you know yourself, as you're a good competitor, it's a selfish day. Like when you want to go and win, it's like, I'm in this for me right now. And I just don't have that, and I'm not in that mindset. So a few years ago, I just made the headspace that I was going to learn the bearing system, meaning the progressive guard, which has totally helped my jiu-jitsu game. I was going to learn self-defense, which is very like the bearing self-defense system, which is very judo background. A lot of it leads to different judo. And like I was saying earlier, my judo sensei or my judo coach, Sensei Sean Hagen, he has a large background in judo. So him and I get to work lots on the judo and just be a better, like, well-rounded martial artist. That's for me as a whole. For us as a gym, I'm very fortunate because I have a large coaching team that we work together. So we have Sensei Sean, very strong judo background, and you know what it's like rolling with judo guys, like pressure, like there's no other pressure. My best friend, who's a police officer, is a wrestler, was a college wrestler. He coaches. We have myself and Sarah, who are learning the bearing jiu-jitsu system and passing that on to our kids and adults. And then I have Dan McKinnon, Jordy Monroe, and Jean-Luc Harrison, who are all very, very good at sport jiu-jitsu, and they follow the defense that we do in class, but they're very heavy into like the Danaher system, the leg lock system. So between all of us, we have a wider range. You
got a good cohesive unit that works together.
Yeah, and it does work good, and we get good training that way. So it works. That's a long-winded answer, but
no.
It's good. It just came together that way, and everyone takes their avenues of like we could have a conversation 6 months. I might be sport jiu-jitsu again, but for right now, I'm really focusing on.
No, you know what, and like I preached it before because I started with the bearing system and progressive guard and progressive guard 1, 2, and 3. And like, I've gone through the whole thing before. Like, if you were to ask me to do it today, I probably wouldn't remember everything, but I like the main focus of progressive guard 1 is like the first thing I add. Like anybody who ever comes onto the mats to learn jujitsu, it's one of the
Yeah.
easiest ways to kind of really kind of just get people moving properly that I've
Yeah.
utilized, so especially with new
Yeah.
students and all that jazz. So I it's a really good system. I really think for self defense, it's fantastic. And
Yes.
obviously, like there's other programs that are like the Gracie Training Centers, and they've had like kind of their
Yep.
different things as well. But and I haven't had full experience with those training programs, but with bearing, 100%, I do agree with you. It's a great self-defense motion.
It is, and it's a great way, like you said, to teach students when they first come in. Like it's awkward to get another grown male or a female. Okay, I'm going to show you positions. Jump between my legs. It's awkward, like in reality.
Yeah.
So or here, I'm going to show you to shrimp, and they think they're coming in to learn to fight, and you're teaching them like, oh, you're going to shape yourself like a shrimp. So it's like that fundamental in the system, I find, is a good way for them to retain it, and it also gives them like a level of comfort. Maybe because they can see in the instructor that the instructor's comfortable with it, rather than just bouncing from different stuff. It's big in CrossFit, actually. One of the biggest things or advice, if I could offer anybody, is in CrossFit they do what's called onboarding. So when a member comes in, or on-ramping, when a member comes in and they want to try CrossFit, it's mandatory that you have to do 3 to 5 personal training sessions here.
Yep.
Like we have a CrossFit affiliate. You have to. The reason is because the Olympic lifting, as you know, like the snatch, the clean and jerk, the hip hinging, all of these fundamental movements, people can't just jump into class. And in jiu-jitsu, we as instructors, hey, go on in, let's train,
let's
right?
go train. Yeah.
Just go on in, you'll make it, sink or swim. But the problem with that is the retention on that is low. You notice because like how many people after 1 or 2 lessons don't come back because it's just that. It's awkward, it's complicated, the way it's taught can be difficult. So I find with the progressive system, it's like step 1, this is what they teach. Step 2, this is what you teach. And then when we have other instructors on our staff, like I said earlier, and we have other instructors too that teach you, there's probably 4 or 5. There's a system that they can follow. Okay, when a person comes in, this is what they need to know. Bam, 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 bam.
Nice.
Right? So it allows us to scale that way.
Excellent. So obviously with obviously the CrossFit gym that you have there, do your students kind of integrate between the two, or is it just kind of like we have your solid jiu-jitsu people, or is it just like kind of like everybody kind of does everything for their strength conditioning? Like how do you empathize that with your students as well to get additional base training, especially if it's there available for you?
Yeah, so we did have I'm a big fan of CrossFit through competing. I didn't believe it before, and then competing it, I found that just gave me a great edge. But for the general person, meaning somebody who has a lot of life commitments, myself right now, I couldn't train very hard in CrossFit and go and do it in jiu-jitsu as well. I find it to be too much on the body. So I needed to pick one. So what I tell the students is pick one art. So if they're jiu-jitsu guys, which they all know they're close to my heart anyways, I'll never steer them wrong. Don't go 100 in jiu-jitsu every night and then go downstairs and do CrossFit at 100 the next day. Think about what your goal is. So if your goal is to compete at X tournament, then you need to train in jiu-jitsu 100, and then you need to complement that training with CrossFit at 60 to 70. So when the guy beside you is doing a squat clean of 200 pounds, you're going to do 120. And it can be humbling, but as jiu-jitsu guys, we know it's like, no problem. Like, yeah. I got tapped out by my wife the other day.
Yeah,
so no problem. Yeah, right on. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
So, and then I just emphasized, the guys understand like the importance of cross training, which I think, well, you're yourself too as a fitness professional, right? Like the cross training is key. Injury prevention. 100%. It is.
Yeah, no, I've noticed more like as I've started to get older, it's not necessarily hard training, but it's like effective training, whether it being mobility based, things that are going to make me better as an individual on the mat. Like functionality. Am I going to be doing a snatch? No, I don't need to, right? Because I'm not going to be applying that on the mat. So I'm going to focus on other things, whether it being a deadlift or obviously rows or whatever posterior base chain to make, or static based movements to really kind of make sure I'm building those muscle groups more than anything. That's good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, like, have you started the, like, obviously because you're a purple belt now, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, purple belt's like the best belt because this is like where you're like establishing you as a roller or like as a practitioner. Like, have you started like
Hmm.
playing more with like dynamic guards or things that like top, whether it's top game, bottom game, like where do you kind of see yourself?
Yeah. I love the top game. I always have. And then I learned a lot of the bottom game actually from the Hobson camps, and then I expanded on those. When I was blue belt, I got smashed by, what's his name? Christian, I can't remember his last name right now. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I know.
Anyways, he smashed, you know who I'm talking
I,
about.
I
Yeah,
can't remember the
Greenwood
last name,
Jiu-Jitsu
but
trains
shout
out.
out to Tristan.
McLeod, I think, or something. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Anyways, he smashed me in blue belt, and I was like, he just ripped through my closed guard. So then I started at about mid blue belt, learning more X guard works well with my body. I'm short, my legs are like 3 feet long. I have a good tendency to get underneath people for sports style
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu. I like to get on top and I like to stay on top, which after training, when I met Professor Greg, the Hughes brothers, Professor Jesse, the guys at Matador, very, very top, much like your game, like very, very top game. Few ways to get on top. Those are like my go-to jams, and then I like to stay on top. Now, though, that's for sports style. But now I find, like I said, I'm kind of reliving like that training that I was doing when I was like 15 and 16. Like I like to know the terminology. I like to know the lineage. I like to know the Portuguese, how to speak a bit of Portuguese, the judo, and just be like a more rounded, well-rounded martial artist.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I always messed up with the Portuguese. I remember
Oh yeah,
years ago. So we had this big super camp, and so basically we're just doing we're doing break falls, right? So Master Silvio
yep,
comes in. It's like, all right, everybody's doing break falls, right? And so you get people to count. It's like, ooh, right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
And so you bring people
yeah,
up
yeah.
to count, right? And so everybody. So this funny story, right? And we're all tired too, and everybody's just like,
Oh
all
yeah,
right, do break falls, whatever, right? And so we go, boom, break fall, boom, and they bring it. Okay, count properly, right? So count Portuguese,
yeah.
and so somebody go. I don't remember who was up. Goes up first. Boom. It goes. Sit down. You're saying it wrong, right? So
Oh
then
yeah, yeah,
brings up another person. I think he brought up like Angelo at the time.
yeah.
Get up here, say it. Sit down. You're saying it wrong. And then I see Master Silvio. His eyes light up, and he looks at me. He goes, "Aaron, come. You can do this." I'm like, "All right, here's my chance. Here we go."
Yeah.
I get to four. I get to quattro. I totally mess up five. He's like,
Yeah.
so disappointed. He's just like, sit down.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
I still see that on the mat sometimes happening. Holy, yeah, and yeah, it's great. I like that. I prefer that with Master Silvio. I like how he's just like cut dry. This is what it is. If you don't say it, rather than I think a lot of coaches, and I even do this sometimes. It's like, yeah, great job. You're doing great, and in your heart, and as a trainer, it's like, it could have been better.
Yeah.
And I respect that. It's like, good job, but I communicate like, hey, just coach me. I don't need to be told I'm not. Just tell me the way it
like
is.
I think when you're in like big camps and super camps like that, there's a
Oh, for sure.
a level of expectation, and it all depends on how that camp starts at the beginning, right? Whereas I've been to other camps and like the Hobson's ones, for example, like very informative, amazing camps, but not necessarily as like strict as far as a structure goes. A little bit more laid back, and you can retain a lot of information. They're very, very great camps, but just again, I think that all depends on the actual instructor too, right? And I think students in general, and maybe you don't feel the same way, but I think maybe coming from the bearing system, you'll get me, where I feel as practitioners, we still have to respect the people who have done way more than we've ever done as far as jiu-jitsu goes, and we still have to treat it as a martial art, right? Where there's a line and discipline and all that kind of jazz.
Yes,
where
yes,
absolutely. Is there a time to hang out, chill, mat talk, all that stuff, but there also has to be a certain line of, hey, okay, it's martial arts, it's discipline, it's how you retain that discipline moving forward, and it's not just a free for all the time. I don't know, that's my opinion sometimes, but there has to be give and take.
Yeah, you nailed it for me. I'm the 100% with that. That's another thing I love about the whole system, like gi tide, belt tied properly. It is a martial arts, and coming from martial arts as a kid when we were younger, that's how it was. Like, you know, my parents weren't even allowed to sit there and watch me train. Like, they weren't allowed in the room, and you bowed for everything, and your gi had to be a certain way. To me, that's what martial arts means to me. And I know that other places don't do that, and that's okay. There is a time for both, but for this gym, when you're here, that's the way we operate. It's like things operate on that system.
Yeah, no.
That's instilled from Master Bearing to professors and down the line. Though,
Yeah,
too,
and
right?
I think
it is a martial art.
you're exactly right. I think it goes down to everybody. I think it just depends on that certain individual and how he wants to coach.
Yeah,
and how you treat your own space is how you treat it, right? And I think everybody just needs to respect how you train that in that space, right? Whereas it might be in, let's say, my club, for example. I know Mike and I teach completely different, right? Where I'm a little bit more strict, he's a little bit more free flowing, right? And it's fine, but we both have that give and take where we still have a job to do, and I'm sure your coaches are the same way.
I'm smiling because we're the exact same way. There's a few of us that don't really follow that, and that's okay. Just as long as they bow in and the gi's a certain way, I don't say much. But in my class, it runs a certain way, just because it's the exact same thing. It's expectations too, right? It's like the expectation you set on yourself and the students that go along with it.
Yeah. But I think you want to let your students be creative and do all sorts of stuff and allow them whatever guard or how they want to play, right? And I think me as an instructor, that was one thing where it's like I kind of was stuck in one spot of teaching, and then I was like, you know what, I really need to branch out more, and so I started getting more involved in like modern base guards and all that kind of jazz to really kind of. I've always had the top style game, but then it was like, okay, you know, I need to start playing differently and learning it and being able to address it and coach it, because that's what students want sometimes.
It's true. Yeah, 100%. I totally agree.
Excellent. So obviously kind of like, you know, like what's the next venture for Jesse? Like where do you see, whether it's the academy or like your facility, like where do you see you guys going? Is it just continue to grow? I don't know.
Right now, it's just actually we're in like a massive transition phase. There's a bunch of people who have been with us from the beginning, a bunch of people, meaning students, but staff members who, you know, like I don't preach the old school world of loyalty and stuff. I believe in it. I believe in like friendships. I believe in honor, integrity, all those things. And people continue to show that here. Like when I'm not around, Sarah and I travel or whatever, the place always runs smooth. So those people right now we're training to be managers of the gym, and hopefully, you know, over the next year, they're going to kind of oversee things more, which will allow me to go back to more coaching, because that's what I actually enjoy the most. And then as far as from a personal note, Sarah and I, you know, as you know, as a trainer and as a coach and as a business owner, life gets fast, and the first thing that went out the window was my own health. So we're just taking some time for ourselves to, like, you know, enjoy the boat, enjoy each other's company without the stress, train, we're both back, you know, macro tracking, you know, meal prepping, all of the things we used to do. And then as the business took off, we just, you know, you got away from it because we're building, building this, right? Essentially, right? Yeah. So now there's some people that will be in place who we trust with I don't have kids, but I would trust them with my kids. They trust us with their kids. And yeah, so then we're allowed to, you know, we're going to take a bit of time for ourselves to kind of get our life back on track and enjoy each other.
That's amazing. So more boat trips down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah, and just like it's because Sarah and I work together, right? So Sarah left Bruce Power, which is the nuclear plant, a very good job, and came and helped at the gym, which was like, that's a fearful thing to do. She faced it, and then you know, she's learned little bits around the gym, you know, different jobs and the books and the legal aspect and dealing with customers. Now she's opening up a 24-hour gym that we put online a couple months ago, just before COVID, actually. Okay. So she'll be focused on that. I'm going to go back to coaching and doing what I love to do and worrying about basically my own health and mental health and physical health.
Nice. That's awesome. That's amazing. So kind of like, obviously starting obviously branching the businesses and all that, what kind of like advice would you give somebody, whether they're starting up their own facility or starting up jiu-jitsu in general? Like where would you kind of where would you bring that?
From a business standpoint, my advice would be to try to, there's a bunch of advice, try to keep it small to start. Don't try to go too big too fast because it implodes. It's very easy to do because you see the brightness of like the biggest, hottest club, but you have to look at your numbers. You have to know exactly what comes through the door, and it can't be like, well, today we got this much, so tomorrow I'll spend this much. On an average, you need to know what the money is, money coming in and money going out. The second thing is don't forget to put, or don't be afraid to put people in power and the people that should be in the places. As a business owner, if you're starting a business, your mind's probably racing 100 million. You know, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. Just stick to what you know, and then find people that know the rest. I'll give you an example. I don't know how to work spreadsheets. I've tried. I can't use them. So I go on Fiverr and I either hire somebody or my wife's a whiz at them, or Sheena, the manager at the martial arts, a whiz at them. So I just get them to do that, and then I get the stuff I need. And then from a jiu-jitsu standpoint, if you're just starting jiu-jitsu or you're training, just stick with it. Jiu-jitsu is going to teach you, one, it's going to give you a massive physical change, as I know you know, right, Aaron? Oh, yeah. It's going to give you a massive spiritual change. Embrace it. Don't rush it. Like, just let it happen the way it happens, and try to learn as much as you can along the way. It's going to be frustrating some days, but just embrace it.
Excellent. Have there ever been like points of like in your training where you were just like, this shit ain't working? Like, just get frustrated and be like, you have to take a break? Or is it more like just push through it, just grind through them? Or
yeah. So like I've had days like that where, you know, I was hurt, I've been hurt, blew my knees, blah, blah, and it's just like, it's frustrating. But I just know that, just like in life, like you just get back up and you do it again. There's been times where I wanted to quit, but it's just not in me. And it's the same with you, and it's the same with the people I learn from. It's the same with a lot of the students here at Topp, that it's just in you now. It's like I was saying to the kids today at 12 o'clock, the kids class, like it's in your blood. If you've been going to showing, these kids have been showing up every day at noon, Aaron, from Monday to Friday since COVID happened, March 14th. That's
amazing.
The same group of kids. There's like 45 of them. That tells me, and I'm sure as an instructor you would agree, I think, that that's in their blood at that point.
Yeah.
It's like not like their parents pushing them, because there's going to be days they miss. These kids have come every single day. It's in their blood then. But it's just in you. Like to quit, maybe you want to, but it's in your blood. Like jiu-jitsu's in you now. It's not going away.
Yeah. So do you like, do you feel you love teaching the kids classes more, or is it more the adult classes?
I love teaching them both. I enjoy the kids because I feel as though I love teaching them both. But the kids, I feel, especially with some of my past experiences with life, I know that I can play a bit of an impact on, like, hey, I might not play a big input, but just like for instance, today we did a theory class at 2 o'clock. And the theory class, when we were on the boat, I like did some meditating. It's like, what are things I wish I would have known when I was 8? Well, when I was 8, I would have wanted to know what fear is, and not the fear that you read in the dictionary. I would have wanted to know, like, what is fear? Like, why are some people scared of the police? What's the fear of success? What's the fear of looking dumb in front of somebody or looking less than? Those are things that I don't feel as though people pass on. And I wish I would have learned at that age. So just being able to offer those kind of things to them is like, that's kind of more the jam. I don't know, I just find it fulfilling personally, to be honest with you.
I think that's amazing. You're trying to leave the next group of individuals that come through your facility and the people you connect with coachable moments. And I think that's the key thing, right? Like, not just coachable where it's like, just talking about jiu-jitsu. I think coachable moments in their life. I think that's the big thing, right? Because
it is.
I think we as instructors are just obviously in the world that we live in, where whether it's in fitness or whether it's being in jiu-jitsu, you can make more connections deep down with people than you would just kind of talking.
100%. It's amazing. Like, I'll give you another example. I was so proud of this one. Chivalry. So when we were young, like, I don't even know what that word means until I was like 30, or like, I didn't even think it was cool, but you can, like, you know, a young mind, you can tell them, like, it's okay to be like a gentleman to somebody. Like, it doesn't mean that you're less than or that you're weak. It actually means that you're strong and confident. And hearing them, they look at you us as instructors, and they look up to us, hearing us tell them, like, it's okay to do that, man. It's okay to open the door for your mom or for a girl, or to say thank you and please. Like, that's actually cool. Doing the opposite actually isn't, right? So I just think that we can have I know I can have an impact that way.
Nice. That's amazing. So kind of like the vision of Topp is just kind of like keep growing and then have those students kind of be better coaches and a bigger team? Like,
Yeah.
how would you like? I know you kind of see teams and all that kind of stuff. Like, would you love to see that with your own group? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure, man. And we're laying like the foundation for it. And now that I know that the gym's here to stay and the community's welcomed us and supports us, the kids eventually are going to grow up, right? They're going to go older. And then you have that core of person, just like Professor Tama has. Like, he has like a core group of guys, just like Professor Jesse has, Master Silvio has. That I would like to see the kids get older. And then I also, I mentioned Jordy and John Luke and Sensei Sean and Dan, very sport orientated, sport jiu-jitsu. We're in the works of putting together like we have the access just like yourself for like fitness, and we have nutrition coaches, and we have all of these things and if you put it into with a good grappling coach, wrestling coach, and judo coach, I think the outcome should be what I think. I hope.
No,
we're putting some resources into it.
I think you guys are definitely on the right page. Like how did you guys how did you get connected with like Greg and Professor Jesse and all those guys? How did that happen?
So I met Greg as when he was doing VVV at the tournaments, and we just kind of hit it off. Like, when you meet somebody, you're like, man, it's like you and I the same. Like, I met you, it's like, man, I feel like I've known this guy my whole life. I find that a lot with jiu-jitsu guys. So and then Greg said, actually Sarah says, what do you want to do? When it's your birthday, it's like, it's your day, do whatever you want. She's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? We'll go out and do whatever you want. I said, all I want to do is I want to go train at Matador. Greg's invited us to go see Professor Jesse. I want to meet Professor Jesse Richardson, and I want to roll at Matador and see what it's like. Okay. And we went down there, and it was I just got smashed, and it was like the hard training I talked about. So from that day forward, we just we met. Chris Hughes and I became pretty good friends. Richard and I became pretty good friends. Another one of my friends was already in the affiliation, Sensei Patrick Barton, and it all just kind of clicked. And before long, like Sarah made friends, and then that's amazing. Our social circle.
No, like Chris and Richard, we all started as white belts together. That's the crazy thing. We all started at the Tobico Dojo in Etobicoke.
Yes. Richard mentioned that to me one time. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a small world. It's an amazing world.
It is.
And it's how guys are interconnected all over the place. It's just like, I know that guy from here. We're training with him over here, blah, 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 blah. No, that's awesome.
Yep.
It's awesome. Well, you know what? I don't want to take up any more of your time. I do really appreciate you jumping on a call to me today. Did you get the boat fixed, by the way? It's running. There's no problem.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that, man. We were Sarah and I were like cruising on the Corthas, and it was good. And then I'm kind of one of the things I like to do to escape and just like get out of things is I like to work on things. Like I like to work on motors. I don't do it enough. So the boat broke, and it was almost like a gift, like not a gift, but like a sign, like slow things down a bit, fix the boat, hang out with Sarah. We had lots of good times. And then, so we ended up getting it fixed. It's now, that was in Bob Cage, and we got it transported here. And then, it goes in the water next week.
Oh, sweet. So you guys are, took it out, Bob Cajun, all the way back there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so now just kind of like last question that I got. So your facility, how many mats you got? Like how many people you plan on? Like what's the plan when we eventually get back?
We have, so the facility with CrossFit and martial arts is just under 10,000 square feet, 2 floors. Mm-hmm. We have behind me, I have about 2,200 square feet of mats, rollout mats that we redid last year. So we run 2 classes at one time, unless it's the adult class. A lot of times the adult class will run as 2 kids classes at one time. The plan for, like I said earlier, we have to be prepared. Like in reality, the world's changed, right? So if we go back to being like, hey, doors are open, come on in, it's not the way to do it. And again, like I said, as leaders, like you and I, as leaders in the fitness space and martial arts space, if we're doing it, you know what will happen. Others will start. So we had procedures written. I had them checked by legal advisors. I had our team help. We consulted with some people, some other business coaches on it, and then come up with the procedures to open. How it's going to look for us is basically we're going to do 125% of what the government says. So the government says you're allowed 10 people for X amount of space. We're going to say, okay, cool, we can have 7.5 people for X amount of space. Okay. Hand washing as you come in, hand washing go out, and then nobody ever cross paths. So when you come in one door, it's like a flow of traffic, basically. Like how, the grocery stores, they got same thing. You come in, you hand wash, you train, you leave out these doors. Set training partners so that everybody wants to roll. So you and your training partner, you get assigned to them, or you find a training partner, you shake the guy's hand, look him in the eyes like, man, I got you. I promise you, if something's wrong with me, COVID or symptoms, I won't train. I'll let you know right away.
Exactly.
And then it's just
So that
like
whole
a
trust thing.
gentleman's handshake. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we're opening up based on the government.
Yeah.
I'm usually the first one to be like, I call it like a gunslinger, like, let's do this and make like some crazy reactions. But this we've played like this has to be done correctly. It can't be done and taken lightly. I know some gyms are going under on it, and my heart goes out to them, but it's like it has to be done correctly. If I have to, I won't give up the community safety to make sure that the door stays open. I can't.
Yeah.
If the place has to close, it's not. But if the place has to close, I can close and reopen.
Yeah.
It's not closing.
So like,
that's what I'm saying.
Let me ask you that, like, and don't talk about places or anything like that, but like when you see some clubs that are just like, you know what, we're opening up, no restrictions, no nothing. Like, where's your kind of mindset on that? Like, I see it as twofold. I'm like, I get it. You need your businesses to be running, and because you got to make payments on bills if your landlord's not allowing you to do something. But there's also public safety at hand and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah.
Like, and you as a business owner, I mean, like mine was where I was at my facility, so I didn't really have to worry about an overhead. You as a business owner, where do you kind of stand on something like that? And you said it, like, you got to do it correctly.
It has to be done correctly. Like, what my personal beliefs in COVID are, probably, I don't go into the conspiracy stuff. I don't even waste my time with that stuff. I don't care. But the thing is that it needs to be done correctly. Like, it needs to be handled. The numbers and what's going on in the world is not going away. It's not, you can call it BS, but it's here and it's reality. So just like in jiu-jitsu, man, like in jiu-jitsu, like, you accept the situation and then you deal the way it's coming. My stand on it is community safety, always. Like I said, worst case scenario, this goes on for 2 years and I don't get to open. Sure, the gym might not be here, but I can always just go open another gym. Let's say the gym opens and I open early. Come on in, and somebody gets sick and somebody passes it on to their elders and that elder gets sick. It's hard to sleep at night.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no, 100%.
Like, no one, like, so that's my stand on it, man. Safety.
No, you know what?
And I should say I'm totally not usually that person. I'm usually like,
let's do it.
Send it.
Let's
Good
go.
luck. Yeah. But this, I feel as though it needs to be done correctly.
No, and you know what? I think the more people that are cool-headed like yourself and obviously assess the situation and slowly but surely and again, perseverance, as we start to build through this, we're going to get through everything. I think that's all it is. It's just about being calm and obviously seeing what's in front of us, taking it day at a day, and then we're going to get further ahead.
Right on, man. Totally. I think being calm, exact same thing. Not panicking, not living in the fear. Like, I see fear in people's eyes walking to the grocery store. It's like, I get it, but man, you're living in fear.
Yeah.
Like, it's a healthy fear to a certain extent. So I don't know. I won't go into the fear.
No, I got you. Listen.
If I had my way, we'd all be wearing like samurai stuff. Survival of the fittest.
I feel you. Listen, Jesse,
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much for today.
Cheers, man.
I really do appreciate the call. All the best to
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what Topp does now and especially in the future after this is all done. And I definitely want to see you very soon and hopefully be on your mats soon enough.
Right on, man. Please do. Thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great day.
Take care, brother.
Take care, buddy.
See you, buddy. Bye.